Welcome to the Bicycle Kick podcast, where we discuss money, power and politics in sport. I'm Lachlan and I'm a lawyer.
I'm Max, I'm a business person and former sports agent.
And I'm Jordan, just a sports fan with opinions.
Come here every week, like, subscribe and share our content. Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast. Today we are covering another club in the 92 and it's Jordan's beloved Arsenal.
I mean, champions of England. We got to do this early on, don't we?
The only reason that we do a podcast is because Jordan can now talk about Arsenal and no one can be on his back. You've been waiting years for this, no?
I've been waiting 22 years to be able to talk about Arsenal passionately.
Yeah.
Like for the last few years, like over the last 4 years, I think it is, we've won the most points across the Premier League.
Yeah.
But it's taken us 4 years under this period of like good football to be able to win something.
Well, thank you for listening to the podcast. It's been great. It's been done. You can see in Jordan's smile, he's very excited to talk today. So I think that we're going to talk about Arsenal and the history and where they've got now and how they've been able to do it. The first question I had as well was because, like, obviously, when we're talking about Manchester United, they're so entrenched in the location of the club. Arsenal aren't actually from Arsenal, though, are they?
Yeah, no. But I feel like, you know, there's been enough longevity of time of us being in North London.
How long has it been?
Well, I think it was in 1913 we moved from Woolwich Arsenal because it was an ownership decision because they wanted to make more revenue. Right. They weren't making enough money in Woolwich Arsenal, and it was like, you know what, let's move to a different area in North London. Yeah, and we should be able to make more money there. It paid off. We're the biggest team in North London. Yeah. We can sit here and debate probably for a whole hour over we're the biggest team in London itself. Yeah. And yeah, now we are North London. I think, you know,
North London forever.
Yeah, North London.
I live in Arsenal as well, and it's a nice,
great, right?
But not really. The other day I went to like a chicken shop with my United top on. He refused to serve me.
Yeah, good, as you should. Yeah. What are you doing?
I don't know. I was at the gym. I don't know. So it's my own fault. But so Jordan, I mean, you know, I'm kind of going to let you dictate things here. Right. But my first question to you is, like, inevitably, you know, everyone says you can't talk about Arsenal without talking about the man Arsène Wenger.
He is and was Arsenal for the longest period of time.
So Arsenal today, how much do they owe to Arsène Wenger? What did he do? Yeah, talk to me about that.
Well, this is the question, and I think it's tough as a fan because you don't ever want to sit there and accept this, but you got to wonder, was Arsenal the epitome of delayed gratification? Because we look at Wenger coming in, he changed English football as we pretty much know it. He brought in a lot of French players. He brought in a lot of foreign talent, and changed the way football was played in England for a while. And it worked. Like, we went invincible, right? And then with that, a big part of Wenger's journey was the move to the Emirates. Yeah. We moved from Highbury, which was, you know, a lovely stadium. It was a great stadium. We had a lot of success there, but it only held about 38,000 people, roughly.
38 that way? Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Right.
38,000. Wow. So it's a decent size, but it's not anything that your invincible champion should be playing in, right? So we moved to the Emirates. The Emirates is about 60,000. Yeah. So instantly, from a commercial standpoint, you have 20,000 more tickets a game. Yeah. You have more hospitality sections. Yeah. You have more luxury sections, because it was, at the time, it still is a beautiful stadium, but at the time it was high end, it was luxury. Everyone was walking in like, wow, this is amazing. I remember the first time I went there, I was like, oh my God, it's got cushions on the seats. Yeah. It's really nice. It had cushions on the seats. But
that's a dream.
Yeah, it is literally like, forget what's going on the pitch. Like, I've got a seated cushion right now. But yeah, so then that was a big move. But what that did is it kind of hamstrung Arsenal.
Okay.
It was a big move, and I know we spoke about in the Manchester United episode about the debts and the buyout, leverage finance, etc. But Arsenal had to take on a lot of debt to be able to move to the Emirates. I think it was around £300 million worth to move to the Emirates.
Okay, so this is so it's a common theme then, it seems, if we're talking about United, Arsenal and debt.
We just didn't do it the same way that United did it, and maybe it could have worked out a bit better if we did it that way. But a large part of the funding came from Emirates.
Okay.
We sold the sponsorship name rights.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I'll get onto a bit later, and we'll talk a bit more about that deal. But we sold it, and it is the Emirates Stadium.
Yeah.
And we also took some bonds, we took some loans from the bank, etc. But we moved at the peak of our club, really. Peak of our success. We moved, and it was a beautiful movement. It was great, but success declined from there.
Yeah,
and
that's so interesting.
Yeah, it's. I guess it was a period of, again, like I said, delayed gratification.
Yeah.
We couldn't financially afford to keep up with everyone else. In that period of time, you then had Abramovich.
Yeah.
You then had...
So it's literally the opposite of United. It's the opposite, isn't it? Like you put all this money into a club, success now, but failure later.
Yeah.
And like, it seems that you're like, no, we're going to suffer for a while. But did the fans know that?
Well, no. And I don't think they even knew that.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew how big of a move that would make and how much of a struggle it would be for the first... Well, I guess we didn't win again for 22 years. But I guess until another 15 years, until we seemed like we could compete-ish again. I mean, but the thing is that growing up, as an Arsenal fan, it's always, the top 4 trophy, the 4th place trophy. But what people didn't realize is how important coming in the top 4 was for Arsenal at that time.
Right.
The money you make and you generate from qualifying in a Champions League position was so important to keeping Arsenal being able to move forward. Granted, it would have been better if we could win something.
Yeah.
But it was really, really important. And ultimately, we can argue whether the move helped us or hurt us. But we can also argue whether Arsène Wenger's, lack of spending at that time was actually to help us in the long run be financially sustainable again. We spoke about in the Manchester United one about how, all this debt, you're not a financially sustainable club because of all the debt. And I think the question is was we thinking about financial fair play before financial fair play came into play? Because I think it was the 2011-2012 season financial fair play came in, and we had been trying to clear our debt and make us as efficient as possible for years by running on basics. And we was trying to make our talent under Wenger rather than buy it.
So my question is, right, so A, Wenger clearly had all this influence.
Yes.
A, like, who gave him that influence? Like, who was involved in like the ownership, to that point? I
think up until that point, it was David Dean was the main figurehead for the ownership, right? He was an ally of Wenger at the time as well. And he understood around the 2004-2005 period, understood that with the big money coming into the league from other teams, that we needed to do something to make Arsenal a bit more of a financial powerhouse again. So that was the Emirates move. It led him to selling off shares as well. I mean, there was a lot more politics that went into that as well, but it led to the sale of shares. So we come round to 2007 now, and then we end up with Usmanov and his company purchasing, I think it was about 10% or 15% of shares from David Dean. But in 2007 as well, we then have Kroenke. Kroenke came and purchased, I think it was around 10% at that time, of shares from an ITV PLC, right? So he had that. So now we have 2 billionaires that have basically, or 2 sets of billionaires come in and say, we want ownership of this club and we're both going to fight for it. So we ended up through various stages for that was 2007. So in 2018, Usmanov finally sold all his shares over to Kroenke and made Kroenke the sole owner for, I think it was about 550 million. And we then finally had one owner. So we can sit there, and this relates back to Arsène Wenger though, but we can sit there and say Arsène Wenger stopped us. Arsène Wenger stopped our progress. But how can you really progress if you have 2 billionaire owners fighting each other on the board or above you to try and own you? And we're going to speak about this more when we speak about ownership styles. But if me and you now own something and you want to do this and I want to do that, and we're both fighting to own this, where do we go?
Yeah.
What do we do? And I think that's what led to Wenger taking such a big role, is because he was, at that time, he was dictating transfer strategy, recruitment. He was dictating youth development. He was doing everything. He was almost acting like a CEO of Arsenal rather than just a manager. No wonder he was so stressed by the end of it, because what a role that is. And it upsets me, and I was one of those people, screaming for him to leave at the end. But you don't realize how much he did to keep us afloat, because that stadium move and that ownership battle really could have crippled our club.
Yeah. So then what happens after he leaves then?
Well, we end up in a bit of turmoil for a bit.
Yeah.
We bring in Unai Emery.
Yeah. And Freddie Ljungberg as well for a bit.
Yeah. This is a horrible period of my life. I finally got into a good part of Arsenal, and I just want to forget that. But we bring in Unai Emery. But the problem is now you've just lost your CEO.
Yeah.
As effectively, if we're going to call him that.
Yeah.
We now have 5 people trying to do everything. You have Gazidis as the CEO.
Yeah.
You have Sanali and Mislintat as recruitment and head of football development. You then have Emery in there. You then have the Kroenkes. You have everyone that's like misaligned almost. And it's like, how can you bring, this big club that was invincible, that was once a former glory, how can you bring it back if no one knows where you want to go? And that was a problem we ended up in, which is probably why the Emery era didn't work out.
But then wasn't that also at the same time as like, are you almost trying to, I guess if you have an identity so combined with like a manager or a person, then almost then what is the club identity?
Yeah.
What is the Wenger identity? And then what are you trying to redesign and recreate?
Well, exactly. And it's like, what do you do? Like, Emery doesn't play the football that Wenger played.
Yeah.
And he doesn't coach that. Great cup manager, I think Emery is. He's unbelievable cup manager. When it comes to the league, I probably not.
Yeah.
But I think we've always had this idea of Arsenal is that we played somewhat of the second best football in the world. Yeah. Behind Barcelona. We played that tiki-taka
I remember I used to like, even with like Theo Walcott, I was like, wow, yeah.
It was beautiful football. We just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
It was always, you look good, but you just don't, there's nothing to show for it. And I think a lot of that came down to the fact that no one knew what direction we was going in.
Right.
Everyone had a different idea above Emery, what was going on. And then we bring in Super Mick. Super Mick Arteta. Yeah. Unbelievable. But what they basically did, and I think that aligned with Josh Kroenke taking a bigger role in the club.
He's the son,
right?
Yeah,
so Stan Kroenke, the idea of Kroenke was always he's hands off. He's kind of similar how you say in the Glazers. He's hands off. He's an American owner. He's there to make money.
Yeah.
He's finally acquired everything he wanted, and he's just not really involved. But then you bring in Josh. Josh is doing press conferences. He's there with Arteta. He's there at signing sometimes. He's around.
Yeah.
And he's made himself a face of the ownership. And it's almost like, I mean, he probably is. He is a fan now. And with that, over the first couple of years of the Arteta rebuild, we've ended up with almost Arteta taking on a similar role to what Wenger had.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's manager now. Was he manager to begin with?
I think he came in as
manager, or was he head coach?
I think he came in as head coach.
Yeah.
And then he was elevated to manager.
Yeah. He deserves it with what he's done 100%.
Well, exactly. And I think we then ended up with a structure of the Kroenke, of Josh Kroenke, I guess, and Tim Lewis.
Yeah.
And then it was Edu.
Yeah.
It was Edu. Thank God it's now Berta.
It's now
Berta.
Marianakis, no? Olympiakos, or that his whole entity.
Didn't he get fired from that? I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't surprise me if he did. And then Arteta, and it's ended up almost like a consortium of ideas that we're all going to follow,
but all towards the same goal, right?
Exactly.
Aligned. Yeah.
So a big part of Arteta was we're going to change the culture at the club.
Yeah.
It was a lot of performative things, like he brought in Win the Dog into the training ground. He done stupid things like hiring pickpockets to pickpocket the team.
Playing at Anfield music as well in the training ground.
But what it has done is change the culture of the club.
Yeah.
Everyone is bought into what it is he is trying to do. We've gone younger. So under Wenger towards the end and Emery, we was buying stopgaps. We was getting
David Luiz,
Lichtsteiner, Socrates. We was buying people coming somewhat towards the end of their career, and just to fill the plug in the
gap. Look
gap.
where those players have now gone. I agree. David Luiz now at Paphos in Cyprus,
and like. It was at the time it was like, okay, we're buying names, like everyone knew who these people were that we was buying, but we had no idea what we was doing. We was like, oh, we need a keeper, let's just go get Czech. We need we need a centre back, oh, let's buy David Luiz, like he can play centre mid too, like let's just do what we're doing. And I think now everything Arteta does is with a purpose. We're buying players that can play 1, 2, 3 different positions, especially when you look at our back line. We're buying people that can play fullback, centre back. You're buying midfielders who can play different roles in midfield. You're buying hybrid forwards. You're buying people with an intent to understand what it is that we want to do at the club and what Arteta wants to do. And I think that's the most important thing about building a club, is that you're doing what it is that you have in one direction and you're going towards it. And a large part of that as well was wage culling. We culled our wages down. We had Aubameyang, we had Lacazette, we had all these big names on loads of money that, you know, through disagreements, etc., with Arteta at the time, we then got rid of. And we got rid of them at cut prices, or we cut our losses and terminated contracts early. And yes, we always have this reputation as being an awful selling club.
Yeah, it's true.
Because still to this day, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain's our highest sale at 35 million.
To Liverpool.
35 million is insane.
But then, so this is the thing, right, is that I hear everything you're saying and I think, wow, Manchester United, why weren't you doing all of this? But then also, like, it does come with caveats, right? Because then inevitably, if you're trying to change the culture at a club, and you're doing all these things, it's going well. And as you've admitted as well, it took Arteta quite a while to get the success that he did. Right. And also we neglect the fact that he is competing with the best Premier League team, arguably. Well, no, the best Premier League dynasty we have ever seen
for sure.
in Manchester City. But what I'm interested in is some of like the morality issues with that, right? So, for example, as you say, he got rid of Lacazette and Aubameyang, but also Mesut Özil. And whilst I appreciate that, you know, I think there's a bit of discourse in terms of like, oh, why was he sold and all of that? And obviously he was on high wages. But do you think, like, you know, as an Arsenal fan, some of the, I don't want to call them scandals, but kind of like controversial issues surrounding the club, have that played an impact at all?
I think at the time, and you know what, we've got some recently at the moment as well, which I'll just run through. But if we start with Özil, as you mentioned, his comments about the Uyghur Muslims and their treatment in China, it's quite a nuanced situation, because at that time it coincided with him being left out of the team. It then led to him saying as well that, you know, there's something going on here where the club are doing something because of that.
Can you just remind me, like, what was the core issue with him saying that? Was there a like contradiction with like a sponsor? Was it national? Like, what was the issue?
So
other than him obviously saying his personal opinion, which maybe the club want to distance from, some, no matter what the the
they wanted political
is.
distance. So with that, actually, a large number of the sponsors originated from China, right?
Okay.
It's a Chinese market,
right,
etc. So funnily enough, the first thing that Arsenal did before they said anything about it to the English Arsenal fans is they released a statement on a Chinese social media.
Oh, really?
Basically saying that the comments of Özil are on his own accord.
Was it in Chinese as well?
Yeah, I think so. On his own accord.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with Arsenal. Arsenal maintain political neutrality. And, you know, it hit them quite big in China. There was reports that certain broadcasters refused to show Arsenal games anymore. There was, I guess, the Chinese market for sales on shirts and stuff is quite big as well, which hit them as well. I can't really, no one can give you the true figures about how damning that situation was, but the fact that they felt like they needed to do damage control abroad before they did it here shows you how much they valued that sponsorship.
They were commercially minded.
Yeah, it was very commercially minded. And then you have to sit there and wonder is like, okay, what are we doing this football club for? Because if he can't come out and say something that about the mistreatment of people by a state, etc., or what he deems to be mistreatment of people, if we're going to keep it politically neutral, then what does that allow the agency of a person that plays for the football club to do? But then leading on to that, we then have, again, another difficult one of Thomas Partey. I think it was 2022, reports came out of an unknown Premier League player being charged with numerous counts of numerous crimes or counts of sexual assault, I think it was. And they didn't name this player for a while. However, a lot of reports and a lot of news outlets, etc., were saying that it was Thomas Partey. And do you know what? Funny enough, it wasn't until he left Arsenal that he was charged.
It was,
It wasn't until he left Arsenal. Now, and the minute these reports came out, straight away the fan base is like, okay, if it is Thomas Partey, I don't want him playing. We don't want him playing. And a large majority were like, yes, get him away from the team, sell him, whatever you need to do just to get him away from the team. But what did Arsenal do? They carried on playing him.
Yeah.
And supposedly we even offered him a new contract extension.
Really?
Supposedly.
Because he went for a free transfer.
Yeah, he went for free at the end of his contract, right?
Yeah.
So supposedly we did that. And you sit there and you're like, okay, we're going to look at this from two different ways. If you're going to look at it from a football club, while there's a police investigation going on and no one's been charged, then...
And he says he's innocent.
He says he's innocent. There's no one's been charged.
Yeah.
There's just an investigation going on. That's not enough to remove, sack, terminate, whatever it is, whatever word you want to use. And especially if you look at that from contract law, like what depends on how the contract's drafted, it's probably not enough. However, when you're now looking at it as a commercial business, you have someone that is in the spotlight being accused of these things. How can that make you look like you are a socially aware and socially well-governed club if you're just like, no, he's crucial to our team, we're going to start him every week? You hear the boos ringing out every time he touched the ball. Yeah, the away fans were so loud that you could hear it. And
again, this goes back to this, court of public opinion. Is that a bit different with Greenwood, in which like we heard the evidence. Yeah, with Partey, again, you read it and you make your own determination of that. But it's the overall look. And like I appreciate when you're part of a club, it's probably difficult to know what to do there, because also, if your player says he's innocent and I don't know what the evidence is to back it up, then you have to make a commercial decision. And also like your on-pitch performances, like Thomas Partey was a key player for you as well. Like I think Mason Greenwood was young, he was a prospect and all this, but arguably he was somewhat indispensable in that it's like, okay, well, we've got enough attackers, maybe it's an easier decision. But if he's a player that's so integral to your midfield at that point, you can see why Arsenal were then umming and ahhing. And also the fact that probably helped them was that he wasn't formally charged until he then left the club. But then, my question to you as well, can you just tell us about the kit man as well and the issue that happened there?
Yeah, so Mark Bonnick, he was the academy kit man for about 20 years. He made some comments on social media regarding the situation in the Middle East and referring to it as a genocide by Israel on the Palestinians.
Right.
And he was then reported to the internal procedures in Arsenal as making comments that were anti-Semitic, so which Arsenal investigated and ultimately decided to dismiss him. He has obviously brought claims to an employment tribunal around unfair dismissal, and he's also featured on quite a few podcasts, etc. And it's like, it's not often an academy kit manager's name, but when there's something so serious like this, especially soon after the Thomas Partey situation, or kind of coinciding at timings of the Thomas Partey situation, and especially with what's going on and the campaigning and the arguments on either side of the situation in the political sphere.
Again, is it a similar argument from Arsenal in that, you know, with Özil, you know, do they have commercial sponsors and partners and relationships that are at risk if someone that's a spokesperson for them says that kind of comment?
I think at the time it wasn't necessarily about commercial sponsors and money. It was, at the specific time, it wasn't what the commercial sponsors they had.
Yeah.
It was what could possibly happen and how they could be viewed.
Yeah.
In the public and commercial space.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute, but we go on this year to sign a new sponsorship deal with Deal, who is an Israeli HR company.
Right.
So you sit there and wonder from a commercial perspective, is that if Arsenal didn't take the stance they took, would that deal have been able to come to them?
Yeah.
But again, Arsenal's stance on it was that he had a lack of judgment when making the post, and that's their argument as to why they got rid of him.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because you can say that it's, you know, oh no, any player that clearly shows a political opinion, it's just easier to distance ourselves from it. But obviously you can't neglect the almost the closeness and proximity between the fact that obviously now they have a sponsorship deal with an Israeli company. But then, you know, if this is a consistent stance that they're taking, you know, with Özil and now the kit man, it's very difficult for us to say whether that's the right decision or not, isn't it? Inevitably, it's down to those who run a football club, which is a very arduous task.
Yeah. It's kind of like almost in a way is, what hills do you want to die on?
Yeah.
And the I guess taking out the political beliefs or my political beliefs of what I thought about the process, as an Arsenal fan, it is frustrating that we're in this period of time where we've been the best we have been for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Where we're probably arguably been the best team in England for the last few years, right? Regardless, we only won one. But we've been the best overall team. But it's still shrouded by controversy. We had a whole couple seasons with the Thomas Partey issue. Özil was at the very beginning of the very beginning of the rebuild. And then we've got internal problems with the kit man, which is causing problems. And I'll go on to this deal sponsorship now, but also there's talks of a lot of fans of wanting to boycott the new shirt because they don't want the deal logo on their arm. Yeah. Because of their political beliefs. And you sit there and you think to yourself, as a club, why do you want to take a stance or take a commercial decision that could be deemed controversial to some people? Because we had the Visit Rwanda deal, which on the face of it,
to promote tourism,
it promotes tourism. It fits with Emirates. It fits with the same theme. It's a government-backed industry.
It's almost soft.
It's a safe,
soft international relations.
It is. It's soft international relations, and it's a safe sponsorship. You're not going to worry about your sponsorship going bust because it's government backed, etc. On the face of it, it's a great deal, right? However, the controversies that surround Visit Rwanda and Rwanda as a country, with the M23 militia and the stuff going on in Congo, and you know LGBT rights, human rights, exactly, and all that kind of thing. That stuff, made it eventually a bad sponsorship deal. We had, I believe, we had someone from the Congo delegation wanting to speak to Arsenal about their deal, which we refused to even entertain that conversation. I think they also lobbied, was it Barcelona and the other teams across Europe who had a Visit Rwanda deal, saying, can we discuss this because you should not be having that. But we decided not to have that conversation. However, we did allow the contract to outrun this season, and we're starting that new season with deal.
Yeah.
With the Visit Rwanda deal, I mean, it was bringing us 10 million a year in sponsorship revenue.
Yeah.
So yes, I guess again, as a global powerhouse, 10 million a year is like, it still helps. It helps a lot. Sure. That's salaries, that's etc. So that was a big deal for us to swap out, but we've now replaced it with Deal.
Yeah.
Who have brought us a bit more of a bigger fee, and themselves. The controversy around Deal isn't that the company is controversial.
Yeah.
It's the supposed position of the CEO or the owner,
right,
and their position on, again, the conflict going on in the Middle East.
Speaking from like a non-Arsenal fan's point of view, like it's tough because it almost feels like there's inconsistency in the way that Arsenal view their decisions about certain like morality. Like, as we say, like, you know, there are differing political opinions about the situation in the Middle East, but it just seems like, okay, well, if one of your players has an opinion, okay, and you get rid of them, one of your sponsors has an opinion, yet you wear that sponsor for years, it just doesn't seem to be aligned at all. Yeah. And so then it really comes down to, okay, well, they're clearly making a commercial decision, because inevitably, and also it helps the fact that Özil was, you know,
getting a bit older.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like, okay, same with Thomas Partey. Like, I always thought he wouldn't be your midfield anchor to win the Premier League, and that kind of is true. So again, and same with Mason Greenwood, same thing I said, is that there are small factors that make these decisions a bit easier, aren't they? But it just seems to be a bit of misalignment, you know, from that side of things. But then one of the things that Arsenal have done incredibly well, more than any other club, is their commercial deals, is the way that it's run kind of commercially. So like, talk me through a bit more about kind of the Emirates and kind of the collaboration there, because, you know, Emirates is one of, I think, like the 6 stadiums in the UK that has naming rights attached to it. You know, so talk to me a bit more about that relationship and kind of, you know, where like Arsenal are at now commercially.
Yeah, talking about that, can you name me all 6 that have a commercial stadium?
We've got Emirates, obviously, talking about it. We've got the Etihad Stadium. We have the Vitality. Yeah. So 3 more. You've got the G-Tech Brentford Stadium.
Correct.
Yeah, you got Amex.
Yeah.
Brighton.
A nice new one.
Oh, yeah. You've got Hill Dickinson, haven't you? The law firm at Everton. That's an interesting sponsor to have.
Yeah, we were going to be speaking about that on a different podcast. But yeah, it is a very interesting sponsor.
Yeah. So how does, talk to me, like, how does the Emirates kind of stand in all that? Because to me, like, the Emirates it's the Emirates.
Yeah,
Emirates and Arsenal come hand in hand.
Like, if we decided to change it, like, I guess, like how St. James's Park went to the Sports Direct Arena.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
We just couldn't. It would always be the Emirates.
Yeah.
And this happened, I think our first sponsorship deal was 2004 when we was looking to move over. They helped finance the deal with the naming rights and all that kind of stuff.
Also, I was moving to Arsenal recently. Yeah. I saw a flat in the Highbury redevelopments.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't even mention that.
What happened? So they moved from Highbury to Emirates. Obviously, the Emirates and all the money
around the corner.
Round the corner comes with that. But they're still making money off of what Highbury was.
So that was actually helping. I mean, that initially helped with the funding for the Emirates as well. They sold it as a redevelopment.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks great.
My gym is in front of it.
It's still got the clock as well. It looks great. And it's actually a real smart commercial decision from Arsenal to be like, okay, we don't need this anymore. Like, instead of just knocking it down, we're just going to sell this off to be something else. And it helped finance the Emirates. But in terms of Emirates and Fly Emirates as our deal, the Emirates they joined us in 2004. And they have been our sponsor now, we're in the 2026 season, so it's been about 22 years. And funny enough, actually, we're coming up to our main deal was meant to run out on the 2028 for the naming rights and our kit sponsor.
And really?
And we're usually, as a club, you sell these things off as entities, right? You have a naming rights, you have the fronter sponsor, you have a main sponsor, but we've done it all packaged in one deal because we saw an alignment with Emirates that has fit us for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's worked out really well. So our current deal runs at about 50 to 60 million a year.
Okay.
And it's supposed to run out in 2028. But what we've done now actually is now as Premier League champions, as a big revenue boosting club, we've gone to Emirates and renegotiated our deal.
Nice.
So for the next 2 years, which is what the rest of our deal was, we're going up to 65 million a year. And then following that, for the next 4 years after that, so what's that, 2032?
Yeah.
It'll be 75 million pounds a year.
Wow.
Now, these sponsorship deals are massive.
Yeah.
Like that's massive to a club. And I think it's so important, and it shows the real commercial nuance and intelligence of Arsenal to understand we're in a big bargaining position right now. Let's capitalize on it and let's go ahead. And I think an unknown name that is now supposedly leaving the club, Juliet Slot, who was our chief commercial officer, has brought in so many of these deals.
Yeah.
Supposedly, according to some reports, in the 24-25 season, she brought in 15, her and her team brought in 15 new sponsorship deals, which makes us about 65 million a year as well. So we're just raking in money as a commercial club. And that's before we get on to the other small nuanced little things. Like, did you know, actually, I found this so interesting when I found out about it, but did you know when we relayed the grass at the Emirates,
right,
instead of just being like, here's grass, throw it out.
Yeah.
We found a diamond company that was able to make some of the grass into diamonds.
You're kidding.
So they were able to embed it in there. So now, as a fan sentiment, you're able to go there and purchase a bit of the Emirates through a diamond.
Stupid. Though.
It's so stupid.
Wow. And
if
they're making
you're not
money.
An Arsenal fan,
they're making money off of that.
They made money off of that.
Wow.
And it's like,
why aren't other clubs doing that?
Well, I don't know. It's a great question, but it's that small little commercial nuance that you're just able to just go out and be like, actually, instead of wasting something here, let's use this and let's go ahead and make some money off of it. And I don't know the actual figures behind it, but I can't imagine it's like a groundbreaking fee.
Yeah.
But it's still money. Money is money. And why would you not want to do that? But also, I think a big deal that we've got at the moment is Adidas. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember or care to remember enough of it, but our Puma kits, visually, horrific.
Right, okay.
They were horrible. Like, they were just reruns of kits at like AC Milan or whoever was a Puma whoever Puma sponsored as well. And everyone kind of had the same kit. They just didn't look nice. Mm-hmm. They were really ugly. In comes Adidas. Now, I think in the Premier League, we are the fourth highest earning brand sponsorship deal behind United and Liverpool and City.
Yeah.
And the Adidas sponsorship deal runs at £75 million a year.
Okay. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's good money.
Compared to the other...
On top of Emirates as well, man. They're raking it in.
Raking in the money. And compare it to the other, North London club whose Nike deal was supposedly 30 million a year. Yeah. Just shows you the stature of the clubs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this extra money is so important for the club. And what we've done is made the brand of Arsenal a well-known brand. Like, Adidas has turned into streetwear. We had collabs.
The anti-knife crime.
Yes, where we do the whiteout kit every year. Yeah. Although we lose in that kit every year. But it's still a great sentiment to do.
And awareness.
Of course. Yeah. And we have built this global brand, or added on to the global brand of Arsenal, by doing something that's like attractive to people as well, rather than being like, oh, here's the new release of Arsenal kit and it's just a rubbish old kit of a rerun of what we had. And I think that is where we've tapped into a younger market and to try and regenerate fan interest again, because we had a lot of years of no interest from fans.
And also, like, if you take I reckon there's probably like a 67% proportion of football fans in the country that will just support the team that's successful as you're growing up.
Of course.
Right. So then anyone who's in London, it doesn't really matter if you're not in North London, whatever. If you're a kid and you're like, oh, well, Arsenal are winning things now, you'll probably grow up now being an Arsenal fan. You'll see so many more of that. And I think Arsenal, you did your collaboration with Palace, didn't you, as well, which looks really cool.
Oh, it looked unreal,
I think that it is somewhat cool to be an Arsenal fan now. You see in London, whenever, I don't mean to, be horrible, but if ever I meet someone who's a Chelsea fan or a Tottenham fan, I'm questioning that.
Tottenham, I feel sorry for them.
I'm questioning that. But if you're an Arsenal fan, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's, it's cool.
Yeah, we're still the most hated, I guess, fan base.
No, you're not. You're not the most hated. But yeah, it's so funny for me, right? I'm hearing all this and I'm thinking, wow, you're doing incredible things off the pitch and you're growing, and on the pitch you're doing fantastically and all this. I still remember when you bid, what was it, 40 million plus £1 for Luis Suarez.
I still, to this day, I'm going to stand on that. That made a lot of sense. You needed to bid over 40 million to have contact with Suarez. Yeah. So he gave them 40 million a pound. That's 99p more than I would have given them. 40 million and a penny. You asked for over 40 million.
But it's the look of things.
It's
just unprofessional, isn't it?
And as an Arsenal fan at the time, we're like, there's a release clause there. Just give him 50 million. Just give him an extra 10 million and be like, give me Suarez. Because he's the best striker, one of the best strikers in the world.
Arsenal is every big player we've ever known have almost signed for Arsenal. Ooh. Cristiano Ronaldo almost signed for Arsenal.
Was going for years.
Ibrahimovic went and had trials. Have you heard this? And Arsène Wenger said, go and do a rehearsal, an audition. He was like, Zlatan does not do auditions. And it's like, but then he's become Mbappe
when he was leaving Monaco.
Really?
Yeah. We was close to an Mbappe deal when he was leaving Monaco. Wow. And how different it could have been.
Genuinely. So it just goes to show as well as you've made mistakes. Yeah. Of course you would have done. But now, do you look back now and think wow, every decision that we're not talking about the morality side of things, just the commercial side of things. Do you think every decision is this is to get us to where we are now? Yeah.
I wish we weren't shrouded by a load of controversy as well. Yeah. The controversial decisions. I mean, we're still, even though that Thomas Partey one was maybe now coming up to 2 seasons ago, we're still looked at for that. And I completely understand why we are looked at in such a negative way by certain members of the fan base for that. Yeah. And I completely agree, to be honest. My personal opinion, I completely agree. Mm-hmm. And then you got the kit man, we've got how the players were treated. But from a commercial standpoint, yes, I love what we're doing. We're trying to tap into new markets. Yeah. We're trying to reinvigorate the youth, but we're also doing it through keeping the older heads in contention. You look at releasing one of the kits is Ian Wright. Yeah. Ian Wright is a big figurehead for Arsenal. He was in the Eze video. And it's we're still keeping in touch with what we knew Arsenal was as growing up as kids.
And do you know what's interesting? One of my favorite rappers and artists is Koji Radical, and he does a lot of the the voiceovers. When you sign Gyökeres, he did the voiceovers, and he does some kit fashion merchandising. He's involved in that, and again, you're tapping into different markets as well. There'll be so many people that don't know Koji Radical. I love him, but it's oh, cool. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but that kit looks kind of cool. Yeah, I kind of want to.
You can appreciate it for what it is. And I think we went to the retro. We redone the retro stuff for the training kit and for just a normal top. And
we've been doing that for years. This looks so good. But
it does. Sorry. I love a retro top. It looks great, and especially they're seeing the fashion trends. We're moving back to retro again, or we have done over the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So
and also something we haven't even spoken about, and we won't have time to, the success of your women's team as well. Yeah. You're the best English football team ever. It's honestly bringing more and more spectators to the game as well, which I think is amazing. Every good British women footballer plays for Arsenal, basically.
We'll dive into it when we do an episode on the Women's Super League and the growth for the women's game. But I saw a statistic that actually, the women's game is growing, but a large percentage of that is because people are coming to Arsenal games. Yeah. And we are building that. And like, for example, I saw a post the other day where they're releasing the kit, but they use Chloe Kelly.
Yeah.
And it's like,
your investment into the women's game has been fantastic.
Yeah, we're showing that we're a club. It's not just a men's team and a women's team. It's an Arsenal Football Club. And I think with Arteta, we moved into the real right direction. I mean, there's talks now of potential Vinicius Jr., etc. And we've gone from just being happy with top four to we're trying to win. We're trying to build money off outside. We're trying to bring in a good investment, and we're trying to find spaces in the scene to differentiate ourselves while also maintaining our big sponsors like the Emirates, maintaining our culture and maintaining our youth. We have a lot of Hail-In coming through, and I think that's the really, really important part.
It's so exciting. It's an exciting time to be an Arsenal fan.
It's a great time, and I'm just hoping it stays. I hope the bubble doesn't burst.
Yeah.
Just get me a Champions League, and then.
Well, also, like, literally, the final point I want to say is that you probably have one of the most likable football players in the world playing for your team, in Bukayo Saka.
It's just so unproblematic. But he's so good.
He's so good. He's so likable. And again, when you're talking about tapping into a younger market, the amount of kids growing up that will want to be Bukayo Saka, and they'll, I think that's such a powerful thing. Like when I was growing up, it was Wayne Rooney. Like you'll find an affinity with a player. You're like, I want to be him. You'll wear his shirt, and then that's you done for life.
Yeah, it's building those cult legends at your club. That's, I think, that's the important part. And we had a lot of turnover. Aubameyang for a couple of years, Lacazette for a few years. Fabregas came and then left, and then went to Chelsea, and then
when you think of where the Amazon All or Nothing documentary, and you think of like the infighting and the controversies and the COVID season, everyone's joking about Arsenal, and to get to where you are now, I think is incredible.
Yeah, it's been a big movement. They've put a lot of trust in Arteta, and it's paid off. And it's a big direction we're moving into, and like hopefully we can run it back again.
My last question for you is, who's been more important to Arsenal, Arsène Wenger or Mikel Arteta in the last 20 years?
What, you want to give me like 30 seconds to answer that?
Yeah, pretty much.
That could be like an hour.
In the last 20 years, who has been more important to Arsenal? Because you could argue that maybe Arsène
Wenger made us who we are. Arteta saved us and rebranded us.
Okay. And
I think give Arteta a few more years and he will surpass Wenger's legacy. And I'm excited to see that.
Well, that podcast left me feeling very jealous, very, very downbeat on Manchester United's prospects. But clearly, Arsenal have run very well, and they deserve all the success that they've been getting recently. So
it's the nicest thing you've ever said about Arsenal.
I know. Yeah, you'll never hear me say it again. But thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time.